98% of other occupations are paid more than this workforce. Poverty rates are double those of other workers. And on average, those poverty rates are 8 times higher than that of K-8 teachers. Educators of color and those who work with infants and toddlers are paid even less. As a result, people are walking away from these jobs, and we can't be surprised by that. And this adds to the severe shortage of childcare for children and for their families. We lose about $37 billion in income. Families lose this amount in income each year because parents are having to reduce work hours or drop out of the workforce entirely because of childcare issues. If we act on the premise that educators should be valued, they should be respected, and that they should be guaranteed economic dignity, and that the provision of early care and education is really a public responsibility, we can actually realize a system of early care and education that is effective and equitable, and that supports the well-being of educators and of the children and families that they serve. Racism is baked into our systems and into our early care and education systems. And we cannot wish anti-racist policies into fruition. People making policy have to behave and construct policy in ways that are actively anti-racist. And quite frankly, as a sector, I don't think we're there yet. When policies are championed that or move forward that favor better conditions and pay for preschool teachers over infant and toddler teachers, when we know that infant and toddler teachers are already paid less, and when we know that Black educators are most likely to be infant and toddler teachers, then when that happens, we're entrenching those disparities. When we see that, for example, efforts to raise the wage floor are moved forward. For example, ensuring that no one's paid less than $15 an hour or no one's paid less than a living wage. Those are good advances to make. But when we do that without regard to existing disparities, while everyone may see improvement, we're carrying the disparities along. We're carrying the racial wage gaps along. And so we really have to address this. When we see policies that drive resource allocation in ways that exclude or label programs that are experiencing the greatest scarcity as low quality, while at the same time funneling millions of dollars into goods and services that are designed to, fix educators and their programs, rather than ensuring that their basic needs can be met first, then educators who represent our most racially diverse segment of those involved in early care and education are being devalued when that happens. And so I think notably, the compensation progress that we have seen in communities has really been driven by communities of color, communities who have been severely under-resourced in the early care and education system. And at least in the cases of New York City and in DC, teachers there confronted circumstances where teachers of color were really treated as less than their counterparts. In particular, because we saw these differences in what was happening with teachers in public pre-K and teachers working in other settings. We know that traditionally public pre-K teachers are whiter, they're less racially, ethnically, and linguistically diverse than other parts of the system. And so I think that, this offers some instruction on how we have to think deeply about our policy decisions. We have to really unpack the deficit perspectives that are framing our policy decisions. And we have to have our current early care and education workers involved all along the way, not only as a reaction because a policy has gone awry, but involved in shaping the policy and informing the policy. And we have to have pathways for educators into policy and other leadership roles so that they're also involved across all parts of the system, people who have been teachers, who are bringing those experiences with them, and who really reflect the diversity of our workforce. And so that we get strategies, we get policies that are for the workforce rather than policies that are done to the workforce. And so I think a key lesson is that in communities that have listened to the educators, communities that facilitate, not impede collective voice and action, are places where we're going to have the most progress on compensation and really being inclusive of our early career education workforce.